Welcome to Seven Figure Chiro,
the podcast where we cut through the noise
and show you what it actually takes to build a practice that scales beyond you.
We're your host, Dr. Jeff
and Kristin Berard, and each episode,
we bring you real strategies, proven systems,
and honest conversations.
And in season 2,
we're going deeper,
breaking down the exact systems behind building a fully integrated chiropractic and physical therapy practice that actually works.
So if you're ready to grow smarter,
serve more patients, and build a business that truly supports your life,
let's get to work.
Because your seven-figure practice
isn't built on theory,
it's built on execution.
Hello, and welcome to Seven Figure Chiro. I am Kristin Berard, and I am here with Dr. Jeff Berard. And in season 2, today we are talking about compliance. So why compliance can kill your clinic if you ignore it. And sometimes what happens in the healthcare industry or any business as a whole is we sometimes watch what other people are doing and think that it's okay and acceptable. And so we're going to kind of touch on some of those compliance things that we've noticed over the years, and maybe we've experienced and realized that it was non-compliant, and touch on what it can do and how it can affect your clinic and the growth of your clinic. And also we'll touch on our PT and Chiro integrated system that we now have available online. And if you're thinking about adding PT into your chiropractic clinic, we'll touch on some of those compliance issues that you would learn throughout this course and the system. So, do you have anything that you want to first start with, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, just after practicing for as long as I have, the fastest way to destroy a growing clinic is to build it on a lack of compliant systems. And I remember, every couple of years, chiropractors have to go sit and get their continuing education. And there was always a topic of compliance or it's always the most boring topic, and most chiropractors who run a clinic that does, average or lower than average revenue, they're typically not on the radar because that's where the insurance companies want you to be. But I can guarantee you, any clinic that is above average has been audited or has been harassed by insurance companies, and their compliancy has been heavily scrutinized. And the reason why this is important to bring up, because for years, I've been practicing for 26 years, and probably the first 15, I'm like, I don't need this stuff because I was under the radar. But as soon as we started to really do a lot of revenue, it's like, bam, now we got insurance companies sniffing all over us because we're above the standard mean. We're higher than a lot of clinics. So if you want to build a clinic that does a lot of revenue, you have to build it on systems that are compliant. Because if you do the reverse, and trust me, we did. If you do the reverse and you get audited, it's very, very costly. It's very disruptive, and it can be extremely tumultuous to maintain the integrity of your team, your business, your culture. So don't think it won't happen to you. And if you don't plan on growing and you don't want to be a seven-figure chiro, it's still important to be compliant. But yeah, are you likely to stay under the radar if you're doing small numbers? You are, unless you're just flat out committing fraud. But this isn't about fraud. This is just compliancy. And another thing is I know most chiropractors think they're compliant. They think they're doing things compliantly. And I can list a slew of things. I'll list them really quick. The obvious one, documentation. Documenting medical necessity. Another one is services that you offer. OIG compliances. Are you offering services? Are you giving away services? Do you have free exam, free x-rays, free this? there's some compliancy issues there that most people don't know. Just go on Facebook and look at your local chiropractor. See how many people are giving their exams away. There's some compliancy issues there. How about what you're billing and how often you're billing it? The times, the codes, the times you're doing time services. Are you documenting that properly? Is it truly timed? Are you following the timed code? The Medicare timed code rule. I mean, there's just so many things that it only takes one. The insurance companies, when they audit you, when you're doing big numbers, they don't care what they're going to find one thing and they will crush you. So you have to have all your I's dotted and T's crossed before you get to that big number so that you're protected. And that's what this is about.
Yeah, I would say, once we hit that $1 million mark, what happens when you're seeing a lot of people is you are focused on most of the time the patient, right? And you want to do what's best for the patient. And then you start getting more and more people in, and maybe you're adding more providers and whatever it may be. But if you are not staying up to date on compliancy, that's where things kind of get missed. And sometimes you get lax in the compliance part because you feel like you're doing such a great job with your patients and they're getting such great results. And so I would say for us, it was around that $1 million, maybe 800 plus mark for us. And I mean, we've grown significantly since that, but it's really making sure that you're continually following the changes and compliance, and not just with your state board of chiropractic, right? So we're members of the Michigan Association of Chiropractic, and we stay aware of what is going on and what kind of changes are happening. But you also need to, if you accept insurance, any kind of insurance, unless you are a cash-based practice, which still you have to be compliant. But if you accept any type of insurance, you need to make sure you're compliant, because there are so many things. And with every insurance company, it's different. So making sure that you're staying up to date, and a lot of the state boards, they have resources for you, but you should also seek out. There are some good companies out there, and we can help with that as well with compliancy. But you need to nationally know what is compliant and what is not compliant, as well as within your state. So,
yeah, and what most providers don't do, and I didn't do this before before we got audited the first time years ago, was I never read the provider manual. I never read the provider manual for a number of reasons. Number one, good luck finding it. I mean, they hide that thing so well so providers can't find it. But the provider manual will tell you every single thing when it comes to how they expect you to be compliant. And you're right, it's different for each insurance company. Here in Michigan, the Blue Cross Blue Shield provider manual looks quite different than the Aetna provider manual, than the Cigna provider. So you have to go through, and there's certain things you can do with one insurance company that you can't do to the other. There's certain documentation requirements. There's certain Blue Cross Blue Shield, if you're billing physical medicine codes, and I know most chiropractors in Michigan don't know this, but if you're billing any therapeutic exercise, manual therapy, massage therapy, neuromuscular reeducation, if you're billing any of those, you need a physical therapy plan of care that outlines what you're doing, why you're doing it, the functional deficit, strength loss, range of motion loss, what your goals are. And that plan needs to be sent to the primary care doctor. Okay. If you don't have that, you're not compliant.
Mm-hmm.
You're not compliant. In addition to that, okay, that you can treat the patient once on their first visit without a physical medicine plan of care. But after that, you need one that is documented. And I'm not talking about just your soap note. This is a separate physical therapy plan of care. Mm-hmm. And nobody's doing that.
Yeah.
And that's making them very susceptible to having a very, very large clawback that can drown a company.
Yeah. So let's talk about growth. So when you started, you purchased another clinic that was already established. But I would say sometimes you get quite a few people who they will purchase a clinic that's already established and just assume what they did was acceptable and continue with that. Or you have the other side of things where somebody just graduated from chiro school, or maybe they were an associate for a while and they want to go off on their own. And so they take what they learned at their existing practice or what they learned in school and they start their own practice without really understanding the compliance behind things. And I will say that we've had multiple associates come in and work for us, and they're not very aware of the compliance requirements either. And so it's really important to document all these things and set up a system for it. So you're updating it maybe every 6 to maybe 12 months at the most. And then making sure that you're letting all of your team members, whether they're treating providers or their support team members, what is compliant and what is not compliant. Because if you want to grow your practice and you want to become this 7-figure practice and have, 8+ employees doing multiple different things, there's not only healthcare compliance that you have to follow, but there's business things that you can and can't do. And then also employment compliance that you have to follow. And so when you get to that point, I usually recommend you hire somebody. So we have an operations director who kind of manages all that. Now, you as an owner of a company need to understand all of these things, but it is very helpful to have somebody who then works with you on those things to make sure that you stay compliant, and so do all your team members. So they're able to help hold everybody that works for you accountable rather than you, because chances are you're still probably practicing and seeing patients and can't be that business owner that does everything.
Yeah. And by the way, with the whole purpose of compliancy is to protect your business. And, not to project fear, but it is scary. When we got audited the first time, they had access to our entire computer, our entire server with all the information. Now, fortunately, we weren't doing anything, there was no fraud. There was none of that. When we got audited, there was some controversy on what could be delegated services and what can't. That was the hot topic with our audit. So the Michigan Association of Chiropractors negotiated with Blue Cross Blue Shield that you can delegate certain services, which the Michigan Association of Chiropractic said we could delegate services to a trained professional, and that what they negotiated isn't what Blue Cross Blue Shield was holding us to. So, in my eyes, we came out victorious in that audit. However, now we're on the radar with them forever. And, my point in telling you they can go into your computer system, like I know countless chiropractors who, waive deductibles, they waive copays, they waive co-insurance stuff because they just want the people to come in. That is, if you're knowingly doing that, that's actually fraudulent. Mm-hmm. Because why would someone pay these high premiums for insurance companies for a low deductible and someone else is paying a higher premium or a lower premium for a higher deductible, but you're waiving their deductible, you're cutting off the insurance company. So they'll cut your throat, if they find out you're doing that stuff. So, and these are things that are, I think, honest. You're doing it because you care and you want the patients to receive care, but the insurance companies don't see it that way. And I want to make sure that all those chiropractors out there that are doing it realize it's not okay. And if you become super compliant, it's so much easier to scale your business because you know what your capacity is when it's compliant.
Yeah.
Because trust me, if you're seeing, if you're doing $1 million and you're not compliant, then all of a sudden you got to go through this compliancy, it will bottleneck your clinic like you wouldn't believe.
Sure will.
Because we did it, right?
Yeah, we did.
It will bottleneck you. So it's not difficult to become compliant. You just need to know what you don't know.
Well, and here, let me say this. So if you are thinking about growing, and let's use our new system that we have online, for example. So the PT and Chiro integrated practice system. So if you're thinking about adding another service, especially PT, which is a huge service in itself, you want to make sure that your existing business and chiropractic service is compliant before you bring a whole nother factor into that. And it's still very possible. And it may only add a couple months to your timeline. And let me say, it is well worth it. And we talk about this. We talked about, adding PT into your existing chiropractic business in the first episode we did, because it's so beneficial for the business. It's so beneficial for the patient. But you want to make sure that you have a good system in being compliant before you take it to the next level. And we can help you with that. And even if you're going through the online program that we have, it will help you with the compliancy aspect. But I would say, let's make sure that you get compliant before you add any other services and scale your business. And another thing is, you mentioned there are a lot of chiropractors out there that give away services and discount things. And personally, I feel like you are undervaluing your education and your knowledge if you do that. And yeah, I know you're trying to compete with, all these other people across the board, but your services and what you deliver should show value. And there is a key for every hole. And so you are not going to see everybody in your town. It is okay that they go to other places. But if you are devaluing yourself as a professional, people will continue to expect that. And then what happens is when they do go to a compliant location, like ours, we hear this all the time, and patients will say, I got to do this at, the other chiropractic place down the street. Why don't you do this? And you're shaking your head because you're saying they are so uncompliant. But you're not going to do anything. You're just going to continue to say, well, this is how we do things here, and let the people down the road figure it out for themselves. Right. So that's really important with being compliant, and then
but
you don't undervalue yourself.
When it comes to compliancy, I found, Kristin, when we added PT, it actually enhanced our compliancy as the clinic as a whole, because we are able to offload when it comes to the clinical compliancy. We're able to offload a lot of things that are scrutinized in the chiropractic industry, right? Mm-hmm. So like what I did when I bought a clinic, I bought a subluxation based clinic in Florida. And then when I took it over, I started billing physical medicine codes. Well, the level of compliancy for a subluxation based clinic is different than a level of compliancy for a chiropractic clinic that does functional things other than manipulation, like physical modalities and physical medicine code. So the compliancy for a subluxation based chiropractor looks quite different than the compliancy for physical medicine. And I'm not saying it's hard if you do physical medicine. It's just different. And adding PT really was a plug and play for us to ensure a high level of compliancy.
Well, yeah, you're doing more of what the insurance providers want you to do. Because let's be honest, and you've had multiple conversations with companies like Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they've said more
that's
or less,
a physical therapy
patient, right? And yes, you can do the service, and yes, you are qualified to do the service, but healthcare is so it's getting so complicated, and so sometimes that integrated model and having multiple services in your clinic really actually makes you more compliant as a provider, and it frees up your time more. So, for instance, before, let's just talk about that real quick. Before, you were spending sometimes 30 to 45 minutes with a patient. Now you can give the patients what they need, but they can also see the physical therapist and get those physical medicine codes. And it frees you up to be able to see more patients in a day or in a week with your knowledge and your service, and then passing off those physical medicine codes and services to the PT.
Well, yeah, it allows us to see more people, and we make more per office visit on those people. So
yeah.
I wish everyone would see the benefits of it. I know it's scary. I mean, I've always wanted to have a PT chiro integrated clinic, but when we were in Florida, it just sounded so daunting because I didn't know the first step. But I think what's cool is now that we've done this and we've gone through all the legal stuff, and I mean, I think we have it pretty dialed in, and it's, once you have all the information in front of you in the roadmap, it's easy to implement. Yeah. It's just, it has to be done in a sequential pattern to make sure that the foundation's set up correctly, and anyone can do it with or without our help, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So just want to touch on a couple things because this is a compliance episode. Is if you are an associate and you're working for another practice, when you go off and do your own thing, do not assume that what they are doing at your location is 100% compliant. Do your own research, because if you rely on other people and something happens like an audit, or you do something that you thought was compliant, but it is absolutely not compliant, nobody else cares. You will still get dinged for it. You will still get in trouble for it. So you want to make sure that you do your own research and make sure that you feel confident in your compliancy. And there are so many resources out there that you can research. The second thing is when you are seeking as a healthcare professional, and I'm going to use chiropractic as an example because our physical therapists, for instance, their malpractice insurance is pennies on the dollar compared to chiropractic malpractice insurance. Okay. Theirs is somewhere between like $200 and $400 a year, right? Whereas in the chiropractic profession, you're going to pay, I would say, somewhere around like $2,000 to $3,000 a year. So when you're looking at your malpractice insurance, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you make sure that you have a rider, or you add on, or make sure that they have at least audit coverage for a attorney. And so NCMEC and some of these other organizations, some of them cover $10,000, some of them cover $50,000. Pay that extra $100 or $200 a year for that $50,000 legal coverage, because even if you're not doing something wrong, but the insurance companies want to audit you, you want to make sure that you have really good protection with a really good attorney in the healthcare field. And that can add up to $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 real quick. And so that's my little tidbit today in the compliancy department is when you're seeking your own malpractice insurance, make sure you have at least, $30,000 to $50,000 in legal coverage in case you ever do get audited and you have to pay out in legal fees and hire this great lawyer.
Because if you do get audited, you do want to hire an attorney. You don't, because the insurance company will bulldoze you.
Do not do it yourself. Do not do it yourself. There are many, many attorneys out there that will help you get through it, and you can interview them. And a lot of times these insurance companies have attorneys that they work with. So that's my little tidbit today, and you will definitely thank me in the long haul. And hopefully you never, ever have to use it. But if you ever do, it's always there and it's always available. Do you have anything else today, Jeff?
I don't. Why don't you sign us out?
All right. Well, thank you for visiting us and listening to us on Seven Figure Chiro. We hope that you gained the knowledge that you needed in order to get through this chiropractic profession and growing your seven-figure practice. Don't forget to visit us on sevenfigurechiro.com. We have our services and our PT and Chiro integrated practice execution system available for those who are thinking about or ready to add PT to their existing chiropractic business. So we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us on Seven Figure Chiro.
If today's episode gave you clarity,
direction, or even one strategy you can implement right away,
you're already ahead.
Building a seven-figure clinic takes more than ideas.
It takes the right systems, strong leadership, and consistent execution.
But you don't have to figure it out alone. If you're ready,
we offer coaching,
consulting, and our PT and Chiro integrated practice execution system,
which walks you step by step through building and scaling a multidisciplinary clinic.
Make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share this with another chiropractor or clinic owner
who's serious about growth. And don't miss the next episode.
We're continuing to break down the real strategies behind scaling, leading, and building a practice that works for you.
Until then, keep executing, keep growing,
and keep making an impact.